2.9 FM because we don't get they don't get the information out. It's ridiculous. And
Well,
that's
This
because
aren't
this
there
last
organizations, aren't
Tommy,
there organizations in the community that are supposed to be, that are being paid to get the information out, are being paid to make sure that the Black community knows that there's an election? Aren't these people
and
part of
that's
this
that?
because we have not been talking about this presidential election at all. At all. And I think one of the problems is it came so quick. March. This is like the third month. Ain't nobody thinking about elections unless they're running for office.
yeah, let me just say this. The media, the mainstream media,
Mm-hmm.
they'll go ahead and do like, little touches of, okay, there's election day, the Super Tuesdays coming up, 16 states. The average person don't even watch TV anymore. Our young folks don't watch TV. I watch the news, I see it, but that's not motivating to me because when you hear what's going on with and then you hear and you see Biden, like, God bless him, but it's like he's struggling. Let's talk about the national issues. The Black Americans in this city have been disrespected. Okay? Why would they vote? We have to teach people that if you vote, the narrative changes. That's a real task, and it's going to take a lot of money. The Democratic Party in Massachusetts does not pour money in the Black community because, one, on the national level, we only have a certain amount of delegates, so they figure Massachusetts is a Democratic state. So whatever, okay? But when you're out there on the ground, as Minister Priscilla knows, that people don't understand this. That's why we came up with the guide, so that
Mm-hmm.
people could learn how to access resources on a local level,
That's
make
right.
them be able to think and survive. When you got migrants coming in the city, being put up on housing lists, they're not even on lists. They get housing. Melnia Cast, you see what happened with that Benjamin nursing home?
Mm-hmm.
It's really disheartening to Black Americans. Let's talk about Black people. I've been an advocate of Black America, Black Boston, which includes African Americans, Africans, Trinidadians, Haitians, and alike, Dominicans. But you know what? It doesn't seem it's reciprocal. Okay? We are the most forgiving people in the world. Now, with that said, there's billions of dollars being put on wars. There's been billions of dollars put on folks that are coming here. And then we see our family members. We see our family members and our friends, people who grow up. They're in Lynn now, they're in Randolph, they're in Brockton. We're not being paid attention to, but we cannot give up because I am optimistic. Once we get a new breed of young people, thank you, Minister Priscilla, what you're doing. And I'm trying to get more young people involved as well to go out and to understand the system. We have to teach people because it's not taught in our schools.
It's not. That's
It's,
the whole
it's
problem.
yeah, it's not taught in our schools. And even our elected officials that claim to support Black people do not even stand up. Now, I'll give them a break because when you're up there alone, you have to deal with, whatever, right? But at the same time, that's the job you chose to take on. And if you're able to take that job on, you need to do right by your people. Once Black Americans start voting, the little folks that we have here, let me just give you a little statistic. In Massachusetts, according to the Kaiser Foundation, We came in last out of all the states as far as black voter turnout. 36%. In Massachusetts, 51% Hispanic voters, 71% our white counterparts. They're not paying attention to us at all. So for me, I'm trying my best. Priscilla and others that is so-called doing the work, the talking heads. You got talking heads of various organizations that are getting resources, but they want to talk about policy. Yes, that's important, but don't negate the work that's on the ground. Don't negate the work on the ground. So I'm going to leave right there because I got so much to say.
No,
and this is not just me. These are conversations we heard over the last 2 years.
Yeah, I know. That's why we tried to do something around the block, the Black Local Organizing Committee, trying to bring that old Black political task force back together so that we could stop fighting against each other, 4 and 5 of us running one race, knowing only one person gonna win the race, and we lose out sometimes on the best candidate. That's why I like this ranked choice Boston. You know, because at least you get, instead of having 2 candidates at city council district, you get 4. Instead of having 2 people at the mayor's election, you get 4. So that says there's a chance that we may be able to get someone that we really want in there. It's sad because it's based on money and people. If you don't have no money, but if you got the people, you still can get in. Because look at Julia Mejia, okay? So we are the people and we have the power. We just have to exercise it. We got to use it. This Saturday, I took my class to the Poor People's Campaign. We got to come up with a different name for that too. But anyway, huh?
It don't even sound good.
I know, the Poor People's Campaign, right? But that's what it is. And so over 31 states simultaneously, they did a march at the state capitol. Last week, we were at a press conference where we literally went in 3 groups after we did our little rally out in front of the State House and went into 3 of the Senate's office and left them documentation, notice that, listen, this is what we demand. And you know, we went into what's the Karen Spicker? Is that her name? The House, is she the the Speaker of the House or something like that? Maybe.
Yeah.
Hey, the House Senate. She's
Karen Spiker.
Yeah. So she wasn't there, right? And she sent, I don't know if this woman was her assistant. I don't know who this woman was, right? But first of all, they had us in this little tiny room, right? There must have been about maybe 10 to 12 of us, right? And so then she came and said, oh, well, you know, she's not here. She, you know how they run that game, you know, she ain't here. Let me see what I can do, right? So she comes and sits down, right? And Savina Martin, who's one of the tri-chairs for this campaign, she's, you know, talking to the lady, telling her what our demands are, giving her statistics about how many low and moderate income people there are in the United States, how many there are in Massachusetts. You know, like, we're here to serve notice. And, you know, I looked at the woman, right? She didn't have a piece of paper. She didn't have a pen. So she clearly was not taking any notes, right? So how was she going to take back what we said, right? So I was so happy Sabina had a nice little package for her, right? And we handed it to her. But that, I mean, how you gonna be so you know, like, we're so insignificant that you can't even bring a piece of paper and a pen or a phone or something to take notes what we're saying? So,
well, Priscilla, Priscilla, push it a little further with regards to the young people that you're working with, and why are you doing it? And what are you teaching them? Because yesterday I had a young person in my car. I was shocked and surprised. A black young adult said to me that they were supporting Donald Trump because he's done so much for the economy. That was the most important thing for this young person. So what are you teaching young people so that they can go beyond what's in their pocket?
So
and
I
make
am I
decisions.
am teaching them how to organize. I'm teaching them how to advocate for themselves. We're teaching them how to run for office. We're teaching them how to speak up for themselves, how to write testimony. We're taking them to the city hall. We're taking them to the state house. We're introducing them to elected officials. We're bringing in professors and doctors and educators to talk to them and give them courage and to to help get them involved in what's going on. And so it's, I have people like Professor Germadari, who's one of my speakers, James Mackey, Glenn Lloyd. We just brought in Ron Bell as a speaker. And what we're doing, we're getting people who are part of if you have a business or if you a business owner, we're bringing in people that can actually help our young folks. And now we're getting ready to bring in another piece is urban farming. So somebody is back in Boston that's going to be working with me around this, and you all know her. But we're taking, like, we took them to the press conference. We're taking them to the state house so that they can meet and they have something to say. They literally have something to say. We also took them to a meeting that we had with Michael Jacoby Brown. Ron was there, so we're letting them speak up for themselves. It's not just hush hush, and we're showing them. We took them all. Our first field trip was to the library to make sure everybody had library cards. So when we get ready to go to the aquarium, or when we get ready to go to the museums.
So do you think with all that you're doing with these young people, are you getting through to them regarding the whole political process and about how important it is, or are you still at the beginning of still trying to get their attention?
No, they're on board. One young lady said, "I want to be the president." Okay. Another one's like, this is great. This is, I want to do this work. I like doing this work, you know? And so they're excited about it, because they've never been to the state house. They've never been down to city hall. They're just kind of like in their own, area. So they're loving it. And actually, this Sunday, we're actually going to Michael Jacoby Brown's house. He's having a fundraiser for us. So he's inviting his friends to come, and we're taking about 5 of the students with us. Our vice president, I mean, we things are starting to happen, and people are starting to notice it.
Okay, so let me go down to Pastor Hobbs, and then I want to go back to Super Tuesday. So Pastor Hobbs, so Priscilla is working with young people, and she's getting their attention and giving them information that they may not be receiving in school. You're dealing with young people and young adults who are locked up. So what is the difference between what you're doing with those who are locked up over against what Priscilla's doing?
Well, I mean, I think first of all, it's education, letting them understand that one, you have the right to vote, right? And so, and not just that you have the right, but helping them to exercise the right that they have. Even though they have it, there's no infrastructure for them to exercise that. So us bringing in the civic education that's with regard to the specific races, the specific candidates. They are experiencing free phone calls as a result of legislation that was written by those who are incarcerated and passed by elected officials. Felony reenfranchisement is a big issue for those who are incarcerated. Some of them are serving felony convictions. And so they're wanting to advocate for that. So I think and with the brochures, we're getting overwhelming response of people who have real life issues. And so beyond civic engagement, we're actually able to visit with them one-on-one. We're able to support them in their rehabilitation while they're there and pathways to reentry, hearing their voices, hearing, how do we exercise things that we need to do to change on the outside, things we need to change on the inside. So just, having them be educated about the importance of being civically engaged. This whole governance council, that's a big piece, right?
Yeah.
Commutations in judges, right? That appeals to them. They knew what a difference a DA makes. That appealed to them. The sheriff, those are specific things that they can see practically impact their lives. So doing the education, I think, is the ongoing piece about it. Some people who've never registered, as we keep going in, they're more inclined to then participate with civic education. Now we're able to offer good time, right, for those who are actually sentenced. Now the sheriff is willing to offer civic education curriculum at both the jail as well as the House of Correction. That's huge. Working with the MCI Norfolk and the African American College Committee around this whole major Harvard legacy against slavery grant to dismantle slavery, and the relic of that being the 13th Amendment that says slavery was abolished with the exception of those who've been convicted of a crime. So this whole felony reenfranchisement piece is huge. We're the second state in the country to move this. This takes a constitutional amendment for it to be restored that was taken from them in 2000. So doing that education, and why? Because they were forming political action groups that were having impact, and so they stripped them of that right. So helping them to understand the importance of where we are and restoring that right. And so, it's ongoing. And what I'm hearing, though, honestly, is a lot of people who are interested in voting for Trump, and we are nonpartisan, right? So we can't influence them one way or another. They'll ask us who our preference is, or ask us who we're voting for, and we sign letters of nonpartisan. Every volunteer cannot say who they
Tell
want.
people who they're voting for, yeah.
We can't do that because that'll shut everything down. We're just letting them know you have a voice and giving them all the education and letting them make an informed decision. But we are hearing an overwhelming response of people who are saying that they are going to vote for Trump. And whether that's true or not, and we're here because things like they got money, right? The stimulus resources that we all got, but they got too, right? So like he gave us money. Nobody else gave us money. Like he's not a politician, he's a businessman. The fact of the felony, his charges, and he's released some folks. And so it's a lot of the commercial media stuff that is resonating with them. And again, it's that's why the civic education piece that we're going to implement is going to be more important beyond just the candidates and the party and the commercial media, and what we're doing to try to do the education in between that has to be nonpartisan.
So Ron, Priscilla's working with a specific group of young people. Pastor Hobbs is meeting with those who are locked up as long as they're there, because some of them are released and they go maybe even before. Do the folk know that tomorrow is election day, the primary election day in the city of Boston? Do they know?
Yeah, I think folks know because I've told them. I think that, we gotta go beyond these terminologies, civic engagement, economic development, and all that stuff, because civic engagement to me may be different what it means to you, Pastor Hobbs, Minister Priscilla, right? Civic engagement to me is one-to-one, face-to-face. And we know that social media has really bombarded our society, that we're on Zoom meetings where there's no personal touch. This is not like an overnight thing. We got to really dig deep and to help 400 years, whatever years it's been, of all the hurt, pain, the struggle that we've been through. Civic engagement not taught in our schools. People are disengaged. The mental health is real. Yes, we got checks during the Trump administration because we had a pandemic. And that's what people are looking at. We have to educate folks. I think the Democrats need a backbone. Democrats, look at the George Floyd Act. Look at the John Robert Lewis Congressional Voting Rights Act. If you had like some guts, you would do an executive order. Okay? When the Asians were being hated against, you did an executive order for them. Why is it that Black is denied? It's always held in Congress. You, as the president of the United States, can do an executive order. I'm going to leave it right there because this is nonpartisan. And I'm nonpartisan. My organization is nonpartisan too. So when we talk about civic engagement, it's like the neighborhoods. We don't even have neighborhoods anymore. The neighbor in there, whether you're out here and you're old head because you may get a check, or you may get a job without a budget in City Hall or the State House. So therefore you feel comfortable. But you forget your brothers and sisters that are on mass and cast, your brothers and sisters that are living in shelters with jobs.
Now that's
They're
bad. That's
in
bad.
shelters with jobs, low paying jobs. Some folks working 2 jobs. Let's talk about the real. So for me, as we have this rally, let's keep it real. The corruption, that Trump is above the law. Had
Yeah.
that been a Barack Obama, 91 indictments, they would have hung him publicly. Okay? Now, I'm not saying Biden is the truth. I'm not saying that, right? But let's talk about our local elected officials. You only see them when they do drive-bys in churches, and then they act like they want to be holy and want to get prayed for. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about the resources that are limited to the Black Americans in the city of Boston. So we got to keep pounding away.
It's what
in the 60s, they did it. We can do it. And for those of us that continue to move on, let's keep doing the work and don't give up. I've gotten to a point I became cynical. That's why I developed the guide, Making Government Work for You, because I wanted to show people the resources that are in City Hall. They don't know. I want to show city councilors how to do their job, because they act like they'll give you a recommendation to like the Boston Foundation and other places that I already got connections to. I know about that, but what about City Hall? They need to learn. I'm not knocking anyone registration. We realized that not only that we need to register, we need to turn out. And people are like, Ron, we're getting people registered.
I know,
but we're not getting them out to vote. So what I said, okay, I'm gonna turn to that. And then I would take leaves of absences to work on candidates that had our interests at heart. And I see it's like dwindling, but I'm not listening to the noise, because I think that noise kind of distracted me from the mission. So I applaud Minister Priscilla. I applaud Pastor Hobbs for what they're doing, because when I was doing this in 1992, I was alone. You have these different groups getting resources, talking heads. And I'm not naming, because I don't want to put Black folks out there, because I don't do that. They're talking heads. And let's talk about ranked choice voting. 60% of people came out and supported that. We better focus on getting our people to vote. If only 16% in the midterms in the Black community out of 61 precincts that are Black came out to vote, how in the heck you gonna think they're gonna learn about a different strategy on how to get that self-interest? If you look at the talking heads that are pushing it, it's folks that got their butt whooped in the elections. So I don't want to knock anyone. I think ranked choice voting is good once we get Black folks to vote. Going to various parties and giving out awards, this, that, whatever. And then when you're on the ground, if you're really on the ground, you will see the pain and the suffering of our community.
Well, I have with me a copy of the official to vote for a Democrat or a Republican, and they sent me that particular ballot. On the ballot then is the presidential preference, so you decide on the president that you want to vote for. But the next thing next to it is the ward committee. How many people know what the ward committee is?
Please. I know what it is. I'm
on. Can you explain to people what is the ward committee? And I knew a number of the names of these people who want to be on the ward committee, and so I circled. But the average person is going to look at this and say, "What's a ward committee?" Can you explain that?
A ward committee is a group of people, delegates, that get to go down to the conventions. They also hold monthly meetings. Some of them do, some don't. I'm in Ward 18, and Ward 18 is like the largest ward in the city. And so there's 22 or 23 ward committees, and they're made up of the neighborhood associations. And that's what I think we need to be looking at, is these neighborhood associations, because these neighborhood associations are all over the city. And each neighborhood has liaisons from the mayor's office, but these neighborhood associations have power. And if they could be formed, the neighborhood associations, and they have, and you have to be voted on. It's every 4 years.
Mhm.
And so this year would be the year, but I'm not in it. I can't be in it no more because I changed my from being a Democrat to unenrolled. So I'm off, I'll still help with the work. Money, a hot dog, $5, eggs, it was ridiculous. I was just no, I was like, I don't have to come to these conventions. That's what this is about. I'm not gonna be coming down here. So I could care less about being on the ward committee. Like I said, I love CC. CC is the chair, and she's doing a great job with that committee. I'm telling you, but I ain't going to no conventions unless it's a presidential election for Michelle Obama. But other than that, I ain't thinking about it.
There you go again. There you go again. As I mentioned earlier, it's the talking heads, right? I had a couple of folks call me and told me they're running for ward committee this day because they're tired of the white representatives, this, that, whatever. I like, yo, bro, you're my friend. I haven't talked to you in a few months. And all of a sudden you're going to call me? And so,
ward committee.
And I'm like, I've been living in Milton. Now I'm back in Boston. And I was like, okay, ward committee. Okay. I'm familiar with it. I've done work as far as organizing ward committees on a candidate that a lot of people didn't like. But the bottom line, my thing is like this. We don't even teach folks about that. And that's the local government.
Yeah.
Right? And so if we don't teach them about local government, we don't teach them about what goes on in City Hall, the boards and commissions, the cabinets, and the chiefs. I went into City Hall the other day to talk to young people, which I'm all for the building, and I know they don't know what really goes on. I know they don't really know what goes on. So it's so much work to do.
Too much
for us. But I don't think it's going to take more than just us. It's going to take more than just the media. Ron, why you let this happen? They blame me. They blame me. They're like, Ron, they think I'm still working for Governor Patrick. They think I work for Missional Community Centers. They think I work for the city because I developed a guide. I guess that's just opened up a door for them to blame me again. But I'm mature enough to understand that's the pain and the hurt that they feel.
Yeah.
So,
do you think it would be inappropriate for me just to name some of these names of people on the ward committee, or do you think that would be inappropriate?
I think it'd be appropriate.
You think it'd be okay, is what you're saying?
Yeah, because remember, Boston politics is more or less Democratic, is nonpartisan. Like a city council, you don't see Republicans and Democrats running for a seat. Maybe they may be hidden Republicans or whatever. So it's nonpartisan. I think you should name them so people can know.
There are over 30 names here, so let me just give you 4 of them because I didn't know. And Pastor Hobbs, you've seen these ballots, haven't you? Because you've had to take them to City Hall. Am I correct?
No. What we fill out is the absentee ballot application. They
the
mail
application.
the actual ballot to the person.
Okay.
We don't see that. Then that actually physical ballots.
Okay, so you haven't seen it. Okay, all right. So we have City Councilor Ruthie is running for ward committee. You got John Claude Sanon running for the ward committee. You've got John Matthew Borders, the fourth, running for the committee. I didn't know Stephen Tompkins.
I'm just gonna be honest. So you had Tanisha Sullivan was on there, Michelle Wu was on there, Shagun was on there, CC Graham, Michelle. Oh, it seemed like everybody that ran for office in 2019, Michelle Wu reached out to and asked to be on that committee. It was 35 that we called ourselves Fresh Fruits. No, not Fresh Fruits. Um, fresh,
Whatever.
fresh something. I don't know what it was, right?
It
But it
wasn't
was
fresh stuff. It
it
didn't
was
sound like committee.
35 of us. And then as soon as people start moving, getting in position and stuff, you didn't see people no more. They started running for you didn't see them anymore. They didn't get involved. So they were just on there for their own selfish purpose. And so the fact that they're running again, that just might be like, oh, okay, I'm just gonna rerun. Because I'm telling you, some of them you ain't seen since 2020. And I'm just being honest about it.
So Mike, my other question that I need to ask Pastor Hobbs about these ballots, the applications. I don't. Where is the Governor's Council? Is that going to be on the November?
I think so.
Because it's not here.
No, it's not. It's not. It's not.
No.
I'm not
I think
exactly
so. I
sure.
think it's in November, September and November. I don't think they do. It would be now because
It's definitely
Governor's
not.
it runs with
Council's gonna be on
the
September 3rd.
Okay.
September 3rd.
Yeah, that's the primary. What's
Okay.
on the ballot on March 5th is U.S. President, party state committee man,
Right, the state committee woman.
and the party state committee man and woman and the party ward. On the state primary is the U.S. Senator, state representative, register of deeds, U.S. representative, governor's counselor, clerk of courts, state senator, and county commission. That's September 3rd. On November 5th, we did this.
Right. There is so much here that we have to educate ourselves on if we're going to be effective in talking to other people about this. So Pastor Hobbs, you only help them. I'm not saying help them. You work with them on the applications for the absentee ballot. So once you bring those downtown, City Hall sends them their ballot, and then it's their responsibility to get it into the mail. How do they do that in jail? How do they get that into the mail?
Well, a few ways. So one, we actually advocated to have drop boxes in the lobby, right? So that's never happened before. So the drop boxes are in Nashua and South Bay. So the correctional officers, the caseworkers, they actually get the ballot from them and they can place it in that place, or they can put it in, it comes in an envelope that they can mail it back to the elections department. We do track it. So that's the one thing we do, though we don't actually physically. So we'll hear people say, did you get your, so we have a relationship with the elections department to find out how many registration forms they received, how many actually ballot applications were processed, how many ballots were sent, how many ballots were actually processed. We've been tracking that. And if somebody falls through the cracks, we'll go to them and say, what happened? But that's why the mobile ballot box initiative is really something that we're hoping to implement by November. So they actually cast their own ballot in their own, they get, first of all, the absentee ballot application will come to them. They don't have to actually ask for it. The sheriff will communicate everyone eligible to the elections department in kind, just as you and I get to mail to our house the opportunity to do a mail-in ballot. They will get addressed with their name to their cell, the opportunity to complete an absentee ballot application. So they almost have to opt.
One last thing I want to ask you. You said that the if things fall under the cracks, so
yes,
you go to City Hall and check to make sure that they've received the absentee ballots.
Yes.
But you can't do that all by yourself. Who else is helping you with this?
We have a whole team of volunteers from Harvard University, Harvard graduate. We have students at Harvard, there are professors who were bought into it, right? From Northeastern University, Dr. Denver. She actually teaches the whole curriculum now, right? And has us come in and has all the students, part of their curriculum, to go behind the wall and actually help volunteer with us to do the actual completion of the application, the education. They're actually helping us to create voter guides that are tailored to specific elections, doing translations in Spanish. So our relationship with institutions like Harvard, like Northeastern, and then volunteers like people like Minister Flint and lay people from the faith community and just people that we've been mobilizing over time, who are a whole group of volunteers. That's our army to actually go physically, behind the wall, do the education, gather the forms, bring them to City Hall, and even institutionalize some things where now we're actually able to scan the absentee ballot applications. We can just send them electronically. We don't even have to physically bring them down, because we built a relationship with the elections department, how to be able to kind of organize and institutionalize some of the stuff we've been doing piecemeal.
Ron, that's a lot of work that he's doing, that he's staying with it. And in each year, there's a level of maturity taking place, Pastor Hobbs, and your knowledge of what you're doing and doing it better and establishing more relationships. Ron, I am overwhelmed. I watch Pastor Hobbs in and out of the church, but now I understand even more why his time is being consumed the way that it is, why Priscilla's time is going to be consumed of wanting to educate these young people, and it's just not sitting down on the presentational events that you go to.
Yeah, we get permission from them to take them on the trips and the field trips and stuff that we do.
But you can't take them to a city council hearing because that's at the time when they're
Well, they're in school, but when they have their break, like if there's a break, like February vacation and April vacation.
Well, Ron, I'm going to go ahead, Priscilla.
No, I was gonna say most of our program is done on Saturdays, but
Okay.
When there's school break, we try to get them to get involved.
Okay.
And some of our youth get out of school earlier so that they can come to some of the hearings and stuff.
Okay, we have less than 14 minutes. So Ron, I'm going to ask you, are you frustrated or are you motivated to keep moving forward with what you're doing?
I'm motivated. It's a struggle. I mean, if I didn't have a prayer life, I wouldn't even be doing this. Okay. Mm-hmm. And I'm encouraged by the work of my colleagues, Pastor Hobbs and Minister, because I was out here doing it by myself. Yeah. People used to laugh at me when I started Dunk the Vote in 92, right? And it's so encouraging to see other folks doing this work. You got a lot of folks saying they're doing the work and getting resources for the work. What I realized when I went in the administration and when the voting plummeted in the Black community, and let me back up. In 2020, voter turnout was plummeting in Boston's Black community.
In 2020, Boston, right?
No, 20 working with Michael Curry, Lenny Elkins, and Mass Vote. It wasn't even Mass Vote, it was Boston Vote, Malia Lazu, and Project Right, and about 30, 40 organizations that organized and worked to get the voter up. We had a goal to increase voter participation by 5%. What ended up happening in the year 2000, it went up 20%. The story was not told because we had Chad's, the presidential election on the national level, Chad's, Dimples, and unreliable polls. So the story in Boston was overshadowed and people got frustrated what happened. Fast forward to Deval Patrick's campaign. This story wasn't told. In 2006, in the primary against an incumbent, Deval ran against O'Reilly. This wasn't Dunk the Vote. This is partisan, because I've gone back and forth trying to figure it out. Anything to help the Black community. O'Reilly was endorsed by Mayor Menino, the late Mayor Thomas Menino. We whooped his behind and we ran out of ballots. No, I'm sorry. We ended up with 50,000 votes in Boston. I was responsible for 32 different cities. In the Boston, I was responsible for 32 different cities. In the general election, we ran out of ballots. I had brothers with the pants pulled down. I had Black community coming out, and we ran out of ballots. So the state troopers had to bring ballot. You said they were telling me, Ron, this is why we don't vote. Okay. Then Obama used the same strategy we did in the presidential 2000 and whatever it was, 2007, maybe 2010. That story, we need to use the same strategy. You know what it was? Under the genius of Nancy, any of them can be taken out. If you have a ground game, you could take any elected official out, door to door, knocking, face to face, all that. So I'm optimistic. I know the strategy. It's hard work. It's on the ground. Information. Yes, we may get people to register. We may get people to come out and vote, maybe, but we got to provide them with the tools on what they're voting for, connecting the dots. Why do your vote matters? People don't know how to connect the dots. Again, it's not taught in schools. It's not promoted. I called Galvin's office last week because I looked at his sad commercials. Sad. Talking about you can register online, man. But
You know,
I called them to tell him you're turning away people. And I wanted to help. I didn't even get a call back. And that's me, right? And I'm not saying I'm special, but you're supposed to respond to your constituents. I'm a constituent of Massachusetts, right? Didn't even get a call back.
you know what?
So that clearly tells me they don't care about the Black community. And I'll leave it at that.
And you know another thing too, Ron? When
Yes.
Tanisha Sullivan ran, I learned a lot more about the Secretary of State office and what
You didn't even know what it meant, right?
Exactly. All the thing I
Yeah.
knew they certified the votes or something. But there's a whole bunch of stuff that goes along with that, you know? But they ain't telling them, and I didn't even see him really in no commercials until he got an opponent. You know, I just
So Pastor Wall, when you ask me, am I optimistic? What keeps me going, not just prayer, but also providing this information that we talked about, the guides to teach people what I've learned. I didn't know what line items were when I went in the governor's office. I didn't know what that meant. People don't know what that means. People them out just that way. They were calling him Pastor Devon. Well, if you're going to cuss me out about him, at least say his name right. We have to teach people what it means, your vote means. That people died and fought for the right to vote, that don't work. Because they'll say, my brother died yesterday.
Yeah.
We just I won't celebrate the anniversary of the 59th anniversary of Selma. Petra's, the Selma, when John Lewis and others led people for voting rights.
Yeah.
Yep.
That happened on Sunday.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You don't even hear about that. Because guess what? That's going to bring noise to what wasn't passed on a national level, the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. But I'll leave it at that.
I want to give Pastor Hobbs the final word. We have 3 minutes, Pastor Hobbs. What would you say to people who are watching us and will be listening to us throughout the day tomorrow? Because I'm going to rebroadcast it. What would you say to encourage people to get out and vote?
That it's important. I mean, democracy is definitely at stake, without a question. If democracy is on the ballot, it's imperative that we participate and show up unprecedented.
Polls open at 7 a.m., close at 8 p.m. tomorrow, Tuesday. Please go out and vote. I know it may have seemed a little grim. It might be negative that what we were saying, but it's the reality. Use that anger, channel that, and be able to do something positive by casting your vote.
I want to thank you folk for hanging out with me tonight. I can see how this can be very helpful tomorrow, and I appreciate all the work that you folk are doing while I'm going through the process of healing myself. So this is good. I appreciate listening to you and hearing what you're doing and hearing some of the stress points, and we'll find a way to do this again. So I'm going to say good night to you because
Good night.
Good night.